Welcome, and thank you for taking time to participate in a public engagement regarding the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy. 5 regulatory colleges, in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, are working together to provide greater clarity in understanding when psychotherapy is a controlled act under the Regulated Health Professions Act of 1991. This video and the accompanying document, entitled Understanding When Psychotherapy is a Controlled Act, have been created by the 5 regulatory colleges noted at the bottom of the screen. The purpose of these resources is to help you better understand when psychotherapy falls within the Controlled Act and when it does not. In 1991, the RHPA was the first piece of legislation in Canada introducing the notion of controlling activities that were potentially harmful to the public if they were not carried out by qualified individuals. There are currently 14 controlled acts governed by the RHPA, and only those professions authorized to perform the controlled acts are able to do so. The Controlled Act of Psychotherapy has not yet been proclaimed, but when it does become law, it will be restricted to professions whose members are registered with one of the 6 regulatory colleges identified on the slide. This slide provides a definition of the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy and aims to make it clear that only a subset of psychotherapy practice will fall within the Controlled Act. Individuals providing psychotherapy services need to understand when they are performing the Controlled Act and when they are not. If they are performing the Controlled Act, they will be required in the future to be registered with one of the 6 regulatory colleges mentioned in the last slide and authorized by that college to perform the Controlled Act. Practitioners will be expected to be familiar with the regulatory college's requirements. You will note that 5 key elements are directly tied to how the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy is defined in the RHPA. It's defined as treating by means of psychotherapy technique delivered through a therapeutic relationship an individual's serious disorder of thought, cognition, mood, emotional regulation, perception, or memory that may seriously impair the individual's judgment, insight, behavior, communication, or social functioning. All 5 elements must be present for an activity or intervention to fall within the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy. This slide covers the first 3 elements and provides additional information about what each one means. It clarifies treating by means of psychotherapy technique delivered through a therapeutic relationship. Element speaks to an individual's serious disorder of thought, cognition, mood, emotional regulation, perception, or memory. For further clarification, descriptions were created to elaborate on each of these key concepts. If you would like to read the descriptions, pause the video until you're ready to move on to the next slide. Similar to the previous slide, this slide provides additional clarity on what is meant by each of the terms used in the final component of the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy's definition. Pause the slide if you'd like to read the information in more detail. This YouTube video and the accompanying document were designed to provide additional clarity about the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy. By walking you through each of the 5 elements contained within the definition, we hope to create a greater understanding of what is meant by the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy. On this slide, we've highlighted a few important messages to remember about RHPA, about psychotherapy, about the Controlled Act, about individuals performing the Controlled Act, and about the elements that are in the definition that must be present for an activity or intervention to fall within the Controlled Act. Completing the online survey will help us determine if there's been sufficient clarity regarding the Controlled Act of Psychotherapy. We thank you in advance for your involvement in this very important engagement initiative.